Hi everyone, welcome back. This is a very straightforward tutorial on how to get streaming on Twitch. We're going to be using free software. It's called OBS, stands for Open Broadcaster Software. You can download it from this URL, obsproject.com. We're going to be looking at the release on the right hand side here, which is the OBS multi-platform release. This is currently in beta. And it's the way that the guys who are writing this software are going forward, so it's best to get started on this. It doesn't actually have the same features as the original version, but it's got everything you need to get you up and streaming on Twitch without a problem. I'm using this one for my streams. I also use it for other things as well, which I'll talk about in future videos. Anyway, to download it, you just go to obsproject.com, hit the Windows 7, 8, 10 link, or OS X or Linux, whichever is your platform of choice, and download it, install it, and it puts should put a shortcut onto your desktop. Just as a quick side note about installation, that for Windows, and I'm a Windows user, so that's all I know, to be honest, there are 32-bit and 64-bit versions of OBS. I have gone back to using a 32-bit version mainly because it works with all the drivers that I have on my system. So if you find you try to do something, you're running the 64-bit version and you try to do something and it doesn't work with a device in particular, most of the features will work, but it's devices and device drivers specifically that won't work. So just as an example, my webcam, which is a Microsoft webcam of some kind, doesn't interact very well with the 64-bit version, but it works absolutely perfectly with a 32-bit version. So just bear that in mind when you're installing the Windows one. You might think that the 64-bit version will be better, but actually I've been using the 32-bit version because it interacts better with the devices on my PC. So once you've got that installed, you can run it up. Let's run it from there. Let's remove this. Okay, so this is what OBS looks like when you start it up. It's a very basic configuration where there's nothing added to it, and we're going to go through all the steps you need to do to create a scene that you can stream onto Twitch. This is version 0.11.4. Version 0.12 is due out at some point in the future. The guys have said that they are they kind of overreached on the features they wanted to add, and it's taken a while to come out. So currently we're using 0.11.4, and as I say, that's stable. I use that for all my streaming needs to Twitch. I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger so you can see what's going on. Okay, now then, the first thing we want to do is OBS has two really cool features that will enable you to make different profiles and configurations for how you want to do your stream. If you're streaming to multiple destinations, then the thing you need to do is make sure you've got different profiles. If you want the scene to look different, and we'll talk about the scene in a minute, then you need to do scene collection. But what we're going to do is, because this is a Twitch tutorial, we're going to go into profile, do new, and we're just going to create a tutorial, a profile called Twitch. Okay. Okay, so we've done that, and we're in the Twitch profile, and you can see the profile, the name that you're in at the top here. In the menu bar. Okay. Now we need to go through the settings, and they're stored as part of the profile. So we're going to go into the settings button down here, and we're just going to go through each one of these in turn so you'd understand what's going on. So the general, you basically got your language and theme. The language, there are multiple languages. The guys, this is open source software, bear in mind. The guys are pretty good at with the language coverage. And there are different themes. There's a dark theme and a default theme. Okay, you can change those as you see fit. Now, stream. This is the destination for your stream. So in this case, we're going to be using Twitch. As you can see up the top here, you've got streaming services. You can also configure a custom streaming server. That's a bit beyond the reach of this tutorial though. And then you've got Twitch here. You've also got YouTube, Hitbox, and some of the other really well-known streaming services. We're obviously going to leave it on Twitch. And actually, let's just do show all services. As you can see, they've got configurations for lots of stuff. Okay, so that's really good. And then the other thing you need to do is you need to choose your ingest server. And obviously, the local one to me, I'm in Europe. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ingest centres in Europe. I'm in the UK, and so you'd think London would be the best. I often find that Amsterdam's better for me, being in the UK, and that's just an interesting quirk of the internet and the size of the Twitch data centers. The other thing we need is the stream key. Now we're going to need to get this from our Twitch profile. So let's just go to Twitch. Excuse my bad typing. I should have had this prepared earlier. And this should just log me in, I hope. Go to Twitch. Once you're logged in, you should see your username up here. We will mute this quickly. We are going to go to dashboard. And Twitch has a really nice feature for your stream key. So we will go click on stream key here. And it tells you here, some broadcast applications require a stream key in order to connect. So this is how we do it. And we just click on this show key. Okay, I'm not going to do that because that is private to my channel. And I don't want to share it on the video, obviously. You just need to click that and copy and paste it into the thing. Now I'm going to move this off screen, hopefully. And just grab that, and I will paste that in later. So you need your stream key here, okay? Now then, so that's setting up your streaming service, and then we're going to use Twitch, so we're cool there. Output, okay. There are 2 modes for output, simple and advanced. I'm going to go with the advanced mode, mainly because that's what I use, and also I think it's slightly clearer what you're doing. There aren't so many defaults configured. So we're going to go to advanced, and we're just going to concentrate on this one streaming tab for the time being. I'll cover the other tabs off in future videos. Now then, we can go through all of these, but they're all fairly self-explanatory. So automatically reconnect, yes, you want that. There's a retry delay, a maximum number of retries, and an audio track you want to stream. We'll go a bit more into audio configuration later on, but for the time being, just leave it on track 1. That's the default and what you'd expect. The encoder is X264. That's the only encoder I've got available. Info stream service encoder settings. What that does is it knows what Twitch wants, and so it will try to configure that appropriately. The last thing here is rescale output. Now we're going to change this. Now I game in 1920 by 1080, but I can't stream in 1920 by 1080, so we need to change this. So I'm going to drop this down to 1280 by 720, which is at the top here. And basically that will rescale it, so my stream will be 720p. Bitrate to 2500. You might want to shrink this down to 2000. 2500 is good, but you might find that some viewers don't have enough bandwidth for 2500. So 2000's a good value to try. You need to tweak that as you see fit, and then leave everything else as default, because these configurations are based on the stream. What we need to do here, I will just go through some of these though. In particular, the CPU usage preset. Now currently the default is very fast. If you want the software to spend less time on the CPU but give you slightly poorer quality, you need to increase this. So ultra fast will give you poorer quality encoding, but it will spend less time on the CPU. So if you've got a machine without a great CPU in it, you might want to try changing the CPU presets. But for the time being, we'll stick it to very fast. We'll leave the profile to none, tune to none, and we don't need any options here. And there you're all set up to go for stream it to Twitch. The next thing we're going to do is configure the audio settings. Now this is I think this is the area where people struggle the most to configure it and understand what's going on. Now what you want to think about when you're setting up audio for OBS is you want to think about what your audience wants to hear, okay? And then you need to translate that to the devices that that's coming from on your machine, okay? So the first thing we want is the game audio, okay? We're going to need the game audio, and we're going to need that streamed to the viewers on Twitch. To configure that, leave the sample rate and the channels to the defaults, and on the desktop audio device we need to choose our audio device. Now I've got loads on here, but what I'm currently listening to the game audio on. Now that's the key thing to think about. If you're confused about all these devices, think about what it is you're listening to the game audio on, and then choose that off here. So I'm listening with my SteelSeries wireless speakers. So I'm listening to that. That's what I want my viewers to hear on Twitch. So choose that, and then the mic auxiliary audio device, you want to change this and choose your microphone. So the microphone you're speaking into, that might be the microphone on your headset, that might be a separate microphone. As you can see, I've got loads of line in type inputs here. I'm using a separate microphone from my SteelSeries headset, so that comes from my mixer, which is just more complicated, but that basically comes in from here. So basically, once again, you need to think about what device is my microphone that I want the viewers on Twitch to hear, and then you choose that in here, okay? And then you can enable push to talk options, and you can delay the stream if you have problems with the audio and the video not syncing up correctly. Just remember they're here. I never have to change these. I just leave them exactly as they are, and then we're good to go, okay? Video. I basically leave these all as default. So we've got the renderers Direct 3D 11, and that you can change to OpenGL if you need to. Don't worry about the video adapter because that's not appropriate here. Base resolution is 1920 by 1080. My scaled resolution is 1280 by 720. And this is the downscale filter it uses. You just need to leave that as default. And notice here, this is quite key for streaming to Twitch. We need to have this set to 30 frames per second. Now, the reason we have it set to 30 frames per second is because at 720p, if you try to do 60 frames per second at 2000 bitrate, you'll probably struggle to get good quality. Whereas if you keep it to 30 frames per second, you'll get a very watchable quality. Hotkeys, you can configure hotkeys to stop streaming and recording and stuff like that. That's really useful. I don't ever make any changes there. And then in the advanced, I just leave all of this as default. So we just quickly go through those again, just so everybody knows where we are. So general, this is just a configuration about how OBS looks. Stream is about which streaming service we're going to use, and don't forget you need to paste your streaming key into there. The output, we're going to use the advanced mode, and we've just configured the streaming tab here, basically with these settings. The only thing we've changed is that we've changed this to 2000. Now, just looking at this, I'm not actually sure whether I need to rescale the output here, because if you remember, the video was actually scaled down, but I've rescaled it here. You can test with that and see if you can uncheck it. Audio, the key thing here is to think about what it is you want your viewers to hear and how you're listening to that and how you're hearing that, and then choose the appropriate devices here. And obviously, if you had things like TeamSpeak, you might want to add extra options in here so that people can hear all your friends and stuff chatting. Video, leave these as default. Hotkeys, you can configure these if you want. Advanced, leave these as default. And there we go. We're going to OK that. And basically, we've got our profile now set up to stream to Twitch. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to configure how it looks. And we do that by configuring a scene. So I'm going to go and create a new scene collection first. So let's do a new scene collection. And once again, we'll call that Twitch. Oh, sorry, I've just bashed the microphone there. Twitch. Okay. Now, Basically, there is one default scene created. It's got no entries in. We do have some audio configuration by default. And what we're going to try to do is we're going to create the simplest scene we can. And the thing we need, the thing that we want our viewers to see is the game, right? So we're going to use a feature of OBS called Game Capture, which basically captures any full screen application and uses that as its input. You can, so in the scenes here, you can create multiple scenes. So if you want to do different configurations, you can do that. And this is a catch-all for the collection of devices, the collection of images that you're going to show in your scene. What we need to do is we need to add a source. So coming over onto the sources section here, click on the plus sign, and it gives you all these options as to what you want to do, to what kind of thing you want to add. And obviously you can add images, you can add browser sources if you've got the right add-ins installed, and you can add all these things. What we need to do is we're going to use Game Capture. Now, in here, if you've got your game coming in a different way, you're going to need to configure something differently, but this is really straightforward stuff. Obviously, if you've got a capture card, you need to use Video Capture Device and configure that appropriately. You can just capture a window if you want to. You can capture a specific display as well, and I think that's going to become a standard default, but we're going to stick with Game Capture for the time being. And we're going to call this full screen game, so we know what it is. Okay. And basically the configuration, I just leave it all as default. And the one thing you should note with a lot of the configuration screens in OBS is they do have a slider bar on the right hand side, so make sure you slide down and check all the relevant boxes. So we're just going to capture any full screen application. You can configure this to capture a particular window, so we've got Elite Dangerous down here, so we could just do that, but let's just leave it at the default, because then basically you can use the same scene. So if you want to broadcast Elite one day and then Dota the next day, it will work for both without you having to make any changes. You can configure multi-adapter compatibility for scaling here. You can also configure some scaling options here. We're not going to need any of that because that's already set up in our settings, so we're just going to OK that. Now, the one thing I need to do is I'm just going to quickly cut and bring up Elite Dangerous full screen so that we can see it's working. Okay, so there we've got Elite Dangerous in the scene, and basically we're pretty much good to go. Basically, we could use that setting now to stream to Twitch without a problem. So we're good to go with that. That would basically give us enough to start streaming to Twitch. Everything's configured, the streaming service is configured, we've got our microphone, we've got our audio from the game, we've now got the video from the game. We can hit the start streaming button and that would get us going with Twitch. Okay, that's no problem at all. If you wanted to add a webcam, you can do that. All you need to do is go to the sources, click on add, choose a video capture device, and webcams come under the same category as capture cards. Video capture device, call it webcam. Okay, that, and we're gonna add my Livecam Studio. So let me just rejig that so you can see what's going on. So we're gonna capture that, and okay. No, actually, what we're gonna do. One of the things to note in here is there are quite a lot of configuration options. My camera does 720p, so I'm going to change this to custom. I'm going to drop this down and choose 1280 by 720, and see it's changed the resolution. I'm going to OK that. Okay. Now, obviously, people from Twitch do not want to see this view. And with OBS MP, it's really, really easy to change the configuration of your screen, of your scene. So we want to move the webcam out of the way, and we want it much smaller. So basically, it's a drag and drop interface. You can shrink that by dragging the corner away, and you can move the scene objects just by dragging them around, and you can move them off the screen, and also clicks into the corner. So that's kind of the configuration we'd want if we wanted to stream with our webcam as well. if you want to remove an object from the scene, i.e. don't show it, but still leave it in your configuration, the eyes have it down here. So you need to click on the webcam eye, and that will remove the webcam from the scene, so it's not broadcast. Okay. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is, once again, audio is the most complex thing. I have switched my audio for Elite Dangerous down so it doesn't interrupt the recording. So you can't actually hear any audio from Elite Dangerous at the moment, even though it is creating audio. The mixer bar here is the key for you to understand what is happening when you with your audio signals. Okay, so if you remember in our settings, we configured two things, right? We configured our mic and we configured the desktop audio, and that would basically give you your voice input, so your commentary for the top one, and as you can see, the bars going up and down, so that knows that it's getting a signal. And the desktop audio is basically your game audio, and if Elite Dangerous was making any noise, you would be able to see this going up and down. That should give you a very good clue as to what your sound levels are going to be like when you're streaming. So if the desktop audio is hitting all the way up here and your mic is only halfway, your viewers won't be able to hear you. You need to have the mic slightly higher than the desktop audio. If you can't adjust the audio, you can use the sliders to bring down the volumes how you see fit. As you notice as well, one of the things that adding an extra device has done is the OBS knows that this has audio capability. And so it's added the audio from the webcam in automatically to your stream. I have misgivings about this, but if you want to mute a particular device, you can just click there and then it mutes that device, okay? And that's what I do with my webcam. Webcams are notorious for picking up audio that you're not expecting to be broadcasting. So I just always mute any extra devices other than the ones I want. So for instance, if I have a game capture card in here, I might want the audio from that. And so then I would mute the desktop audio and so on and so forth. So just think once again about what it is you want the viewers to hear, and then associate the right things in here. And what, like I say, with the levels, if you need to check the levels, then you should be good to do that. Right, okay, we are going to just quickly now show you how to check everything is working in Twitch. And unfortunately that means I need to copy my stream key in, so I'm just going to do that now. So that's my stream configuration. So if we want to go live with this stream now, we can do that, and I am actually going to make a bit of room on the desktop so we can get the dashboard up at the same time. So let me just find my dashboard. I'm going to go to the live. I'm going to bring that in over here so we can see it a little bit. Put this on top. Now then, you need to have both of these open somewhere, as well as obviously playing the game. So you might find that you need to have multiple monitors. If you don't have multiple monitors, all these things will run quite happily in the background. One key thing that I would always recommend you check before you do anything is make sure your preview is muted. Otherwise, what happens is that OBS can pick that up, because you'll hear that in your audio device, in your desktop audio device, and it will restream it to your stream, and you'll get a continually looping echo. So before you do anything, once you've brought your dashboard up, click on the mute and go from there. Change the title of your broadcast before you start broadcasting. We're going to leave the title as testing, but we're going to change this to Elite Dangerous. And it should auto-fill for me, which is really nice of it. Make sure you've got the language right. Click on Update, and that will basically set the configuration in your stream. And then to start streaming, we go over to this button here and do Start Streaming. What will happen is that OBS will make sure it can connect to the servers, and if it has any problems at all, it will pop up an error. It's normally very instructive and to help you understand exactly what's going wrong. And then as soon as everything starts streaming, you need to keep your eye on this section in the bottom corner here, because it will tell you any drop frames, the time you've been streaming, how much CPU you're using, which is a useful indicator if you're running everything on one machine, and the kilobits per second that you're uploading. So currently I'm at 2200, and I'm slightly higher than 2000 because obviously we've added the audio in on top. And as you can see over here on my dashboard, things have started to stream, and we are now streaming Elite Dangerous live as part of this tutorial. If you have the option to do it, then you should open up the dashboard on another device so you can check your audio levels. Now that's the best way I find to check my audio levels, is to open up on my on a tablet or something, go to the Twitch dashboard on my tablet and listen to the audio to make sure that my voice can be heard above the game audio. And you don't want the game audio too quiet because people want to listen to the game audio. You don't want it too loud so that people can't hear you commentating. And that's the key thing that I think you need to do to get that working properly. Anyway, let's stop streaming because we don't want to cause any problems. And we will just quickly go through everything we've done to get you up to speed and using OBS to stream to Twitch. So the first thing we did was we set up a profile, we called it Twitch, and we went through and configured all our settings, which we've already been through. And then we created a new scene collection called Twitch. We used the default scene down here, and we added the full screen game and the webcam. We checked our video devices down here and made sure that we checked our audio devices down here and made sure that any audio device that we didn't want streamed was muted. And we also used the mixer here to make sure that our levels were okay. And then we hit the start stream button, checked on our dashboard, and everything's good to go. I hope you found that useful. I'm going to do some more in-depth OBS tutorial videos shortly, so please do follow me on YouTube if you want to see more of those, and you can find me on all of the social media as Unshaped Adrian. Thanks very much for watching. I really appreciate your support. Cheers.